at y'all with another video today. And today I'm going to be doing another reaction. So came across a couple more of Andrew Neff's clips. And one of the things I found interesting is another one of Michael Sandel's videos. Like the thumbnail looked interesting. And I'm trying to stick to doing like traditional reactions. So let's go ahead and watch this jaunt, get into it. I've never seen this video before. This is going to be a fresh reaction. And yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. Oh, hang on. Gotta switch the audio.
So I wanted to try to make sense of it. And so, I think a lot of...
Just for context, let's see. Michael Sandel. Damn. Wait, so the original video, hang on. Give me 1 second.
For me, as a fan, the idea that you're...
All right, so this is on, I guess, a podcast. Let's go ahead and get into this video, though.
I think, so I wanted to try to make sense of it. And I think a lot of it has to do with a sense of anger and resentment, even a sense of humiliation that a great many working people feel, and that these figures, including Trump, have been able to tap into. I think at the heart...
I would say that's because nobody else is. Everybody else is fucking the working class over or talking down on them. Like even in the political ranks, somebody like Joe Biden was looked down upon prior. You know, everybody rallied around him because he ended up being basically like the last sleeping man standing, because Bernie Sanders just wanted to, you know, stand around and look at himself in the, well, I don't know, who knows what Bernie was doing during the primaries and shit, but you know, Biden was basically ended up being the last neoliberal choice, and that's who they chose. So, but I remember reading stories about how like people like Obama and the, you know, the managerial type, you know, class within the Democratic Party and the New Democrats and everything like that, it looked down on Biden because he wasn't like, you know, Ivy League educated and all that. Like they looked at him almost like a pleb, almost. So it's very interesting, you know, to hear that, you know, to hear him talk about that in this lens.
Part of it is the fact that the divide between winners and losers has been deepening in recent decades, poisoning our politics and driving us apart. This has partly to do with the widening inequalities that we've seen during 4 decades of globalization, but it's not only economic inequality. I think it has to do also with changing attitudes toward success, toward winning and losing that accompanied the rising inequality.
See, but my thing is, and I definitely feel for working class people, but to the working class people that worship getting rich, you know, they worship people like Jeff Bezos. Like there are people out there like that. Like I have friends like that of all, you know, backgrounds and ethnicities and races and everything that look up to billionaires. They want to be millionaires and billionaires, which, you know, if you make your money, you know, if you make a comfortable living or you gain wealth, you know, in ways unlike those guys did, you know, applaud for you. I'm happy for you, this, that, and the third. But guys like Bezos, guys like Elon Musk, guys like Mark Zuckerberg, you know, and the unnamed billionaires we don't know about that a lot of us worship, especially black people, you know, like I can't tell you like how rap is, you know, indignated with so much, not even just materialism, because it's, you know, since the 80s, since the basically since the government's push of gangster rap and like materialistic type rap and everything like that, hip-hop has always been very materialistic, but now it's like this overt, you know, worship of capitalism. It's so weird. They just don't say the word capitalism. Like you'll hear your rappers talk about, oh, we need to feed the poor, this, that, and the third, like the newer rappers. Because Pac, to me, you know, I have my issues with Pac. You know, I'm not the biggest Pac fan, but Pac was saying some real shit in his music. Regardless of how you feel about him and how I feel about him, he was saying some real shit in his music. But a lot of these niggas now, like with the exclusion of a couple, like a Kendrick, like a Cole, and obviously like more underground, not underground rappers, but not like a Nipsey Hussle. But even I had issues with some of Nipsey's ideology because it went into this whole, you know, pushing black people and young black youth into like this neoliberal mindset of tech, you know, following on the coattails of, you know, our, you know, the tech oligarchs. He was pushing a lot of the STEM programs and shit like that. And that's not the shit on, you know, any of the other programs he was doing, because, you know, Nips, I don't think Nipsey was doing it out of malice or, you know, nefarious means or anything like that. But, and even other rappers like My Son, there's so many other rappers, you know, out there that are doing the real work and shit like that. But like even niggas like Killer Mike, motherfucker was a Bernie supporter. He just got into a couple months ago, got into a Twitter beef with No Name, because he out here pushing this capitalism shit, this capitalism bullshit. You know, and socialist and communist rhetoric. Like it's insane. Like, and that's why I felt that that Malcolm X video I did was so important. And I also posted a clip. I'll explain that at the end of the video, but that's why I posted that Malcolm X video, because I felt it was so important of him talking about how communism is not going to save the black community, especially black Americans. It's not going to save us. And I attribute that to the overall global South, the overall, you know, the rest of the fucking world outside of, you know, the European, basically white people. That's not going to save the global South. You feel me? That's not going to free Africa from, you know, the vestiges of colonialism and now imperialism. That's not going to, you know, capitalism isn't going to save the Middle East. You see Afghanistan cozying up to China, right? So that's not going to save us. That's not going to free us and liberate us. So that's a lot of my issues with working class people here in America, is that they still want to solve the issues through the, you know, the backdrop of overall capitalism. Because I feel like we're never, especially here in America, we're never going to get to the point where we're a full-on communist or socialist country. And me personally, I don't know if that's the route. I'm more of a person of taking the best ideas of everything and melding them all together into a hybrid system, which is what who does? China, which is why they call it socialism with Chinese characteristics, because they added, you know, small semblances of capitalism in there, but they keep it on a very short leash. And we're seeing that now. They're running propaganda about China. Oh, China's, you know, you want to call it socialistic authoritarianism. That's what, like, this one article said that about Xi Jinping basically shutting down the privatization of like the education system there, specifically the tutoring. So, but that's a whole nother conversation. But overall, that's my overall problem with a lot of the working class here, is that the working class, we're so indoctrinated into, you know, into rising through the ranks to eventually becoming one of the owner class, that we're taught to view everything through look at the whole wage conversation we're having now here in America about you know, or the job crisis. The fact that these workers don't want to pay people a living wage, and the government's offering them a better deal, basically to sit at home. And you're mad at the fucking worker and not at the people trying to pay them, you know, subpar, you know, not a living wage, and you're mad at the worker. And that's what we've been indoctrinated into. We've been indoctrinated to view everything through ownership and through the owner class.
Those who've landed on top have come to believe that their success is their own doing, the measure of their merit. And by implication, that those who fall short, those who are struggling, have no one to blame but themselves.
And that ideology,
now,
that ideology plays into what I just said as well.
Way of thinking about success reflects a certain meritocratic ideal.
And he was the one I covered that, you know, I did the video about how meritocracy is a lie. And he was the one, like, I've never heard of this guy. So Andrew Neff, I'm gonna try and get him on the show on Talks Talk and do like a, you know, a podcast with him, because I would love to pick his brain about certain things, because the clips he posts are so fucking fire, bro.
The idea is, and it seems inspiring on the face of it, if chances are equal, or could be made equal, the winners would deserve their success and the benefits that flow from it.
And that's what drew me into Kyle Kulinski, and what honestly like changed my mind about things like communism. And so I used to be anti-communist and socialist. I used to be. Probably like you asked me 2 years ago, I would have been talking about anti-communist socialist ideas. But Kyle Kulinski was the one that presented it to me, that people on the left, like real leftists and shit like that, and say whatever you want to, however you feel about Kyle Kulinski. I'm not here to push him. I'm just saying this is the idea that pulled me more into, you know, socialist and communist ideology is that leftists aren't begging, you know, we're not begging for equal outcome. You know, we're not saying we want equal outcome. Give people equal opportunity. That's what we're talking about. Like, you're never going to have guaranteed equal outcome, because that's when you do have authoritarianism and, you know, all the other shit that goes along with that. What I'm talking about is give people equal opportunity, and we don't have that here in America. Especially, well, to some degree we do, but not as much as we had in the past, and even then it was really, but especially now we're living in a new gilded age, and people don't even realize it because we have Netflix and we have PlayStations, and people like me are able to do this show with equipment, and we have cheap shit basically, but we sacrifice that by sending all of our livelihoods to other fucking countries where they would basically take a lesser livelihood.
And so while this is inspiring in one way, it leads to the rhetoric of rising, the promise you can make it if you try. It's invidious in another. Meritocracy has a dark side because it generates hubris among the winners.
And I saw this one Hassan Piker clip, I think it was on Andrew Neff's page, where Hassan Piker, and no, I don't fuck with Hassan Piker, but again, a broken clock is right every now and then. He brought up the fact, he was reacting to this Meghan McCain clip where she was talking about meritocracy. And he was like, you know what? The irony of Meghan McCain talking about meritocracy is that she is a product, basically, like I'm paraphrasing what he said, but she is a product of nepotism, not meritocracy. And he was like, it takes one to know one, because he was referencing like Cenk Uygur being his uncle and putting him on and shit like that. But he was like, it takes one to know one. I can tell you that's nepotism. That's not meritocracy. So it's kind of ironic that somebody is, you know, preaching meritocracy from the hilltops, that didn't live through meritocracy, didn't have to earn what she fucking has. Her fucking dead father is why she has what she has. But her piece of shit scumbag father, you know, that was alive at the time that got her these gigs, but now he's dead. Very few people I will speak ill of while they're dead. John McCain is one of those few people I will talk ill of while they're dead. Fucking psychopathic war criminal. Terrorist supporting, ISIS supporting. Oh my God. But yeah, so you know, everything he's saying right here is facts. I need to like, I wonder if he's published any books. I would like to read, you know, pick his ideology more and see what, you know, see more about it.
Among those who are left behind, one of the most potent sources.
It's almost as if you have the oligarch class preaching meritocracy to you while fueling their wealth and their continued wealth through you know, their future generations through nepotism. It's almost like they want to keep you poor.
I think of the populist backlash against elites is the galling sense among many working people that elites look down on them. This, I think, is
they do. I don't know if he believes that, but they do. They really do.
Is one of the important factors that has roiled our politics and led to the populist backlash, Yuval.
It led to Trump. That's what it led to. But it led to fake populism, in my opinion. But overall, you know, everything, you know, Michael Sandel said there was ex facto mundo. That's a new word I'm using, ex facto mundo. It's facts. Everything he said there was facts. Like, meritocracy is bullshit. That's why I made that video to talk about that more. And honestly, I'm going to be doing more like, not necessarily like, I'm still going to be covering news topics, but just, I want to share more of my ideology with you guys and have more of an open debate. I might do what Franco does too, where Franco has on, like, he has these panels of people that comes on the show and they talk about like solutions and shit like that. And I want to do things like that to talk about solutions as well. But I want to see where people's heads are too as well. Because you can't talk about solutions if you don't know where everybody's, you know, ideology and heads are. Like, because a lot of people believe different shit. Like, just on the left, a lot of people believe different shit. And just like on the right, people, you know, a lot of people believe different shit on the right, but it's more of like an overall coalescence. There's like core principles that people on the right all agree with, you know, and they create more solidarity within, you know, their movements more so than the left does. And I think that's because the right knows who they truly are, where like you have a lot of the left that because of, you know, the Cold War era tactics of weeding out true leftists, you have a lot of these bullshit, fucking tap dance artists for the establishment type of leftist out there, and not even some doing it in nefarious means, because I do think there are some people that aren't doing it nefariously. I think they're useful idiots, as you know, as Hillary Clinton called Tulsi Gabbard. I think that is a real thing. You know, the useful idiot term is a real thing. But yeah. So overall, though, like I said, I agree with with everything he said there. And yeah, meritocracy is bullshit. And meritocracy and the lies of overall capitalism is what led to Donald Trump. It leads to a despot. But the only reason why we haven't descended into complete, you know, fascism in its extreme form, like Nazi Germany or some shit like that, is the fact that Trump was not a competent fascist. Real talk. I mean, he was a fascist, you know, akin to every other fucking president that's ever existed. Like on that note, but I would say he did less horrible shit than even his previous 3 predecessors. He still did horrible shit, but to a lesser extent than fucking Barack Obama. Definitely to a lesser extent than George Bush and Bill Clinton. So, you know, take that however you want to feel about it. That's how I feel about it. That's why I was, you know, I wouldn't have been upset if Trump won the election personally. like honestly, like I feel like shit is worse under Biden, and it's worse because of, you know, the actual content of what he's doing being worse. But on top of that, you have people running cover for him. Even to now, you know, somebody I mentioned before, how many videos has Secular Talk done, like praising Biden basically for Afghanistan, without going into the overall history of not just Biden in Afghanistan, but the overall like conditions of that country prior, or like not giving a full contextualized picture of Afghanistan, just presenting it through this like bullshit, like neoliberal kind of like the mindset Ben Norton was calling out in that video, you know, the thread on Haiti that he did on Twitter, kind of that liberal you know, American exceptionalist mindset. And Kyle will be somebody that'll tell you, you know, he's not an American exceptionalist, which, you know, I would give him the benefit of the doubt and believing him with that. But you espouse some of the talking points of those liberal, you know, exceptionalist people. Like just, you know, the whole narrative, like the only thing you focus on is the aspect of, you know, the money spent in these countries, as opposed to, you know, the actual like, oh, that could be money spent here on Medicare for all. Well, bro, you don't ever talk about, you're sitting here praising, you know, Big Pharma right now with their faxes. What are you talking about right now? Medicare for all is going to strengthen that. It's like the cognitive dissonance on the level, but that's a whole nother conversation. So, but with all that being said, y'all, I'm gonna go ahead and close the video out there. As always, like, comment, subscribe, and share. Emphasis on all that. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. Peace. Easy.